Jazz wrap up the road trip in San Antonio. Victor is truly fabulous. Jazz transition defense collapses. A lot of young minutes to talk about, but we'll lead with Victor on tonight's edition of POSTCAST. David Locke along with Ron Boone as the San Antonio Spurs beat the Utah Jazz 123-110. The Jazz, I think, covered the spread, by the way, if you were interested in that. Only because it got interesting late. Let's lead with Victor because he was the lead. He had a monster first quarter, one of his biggest scoring first quarters. He came out, but named all-star starter, buried the threes, impacted the game, the drives, the basket. I mean, this kid is – he comes to town Thursday. Get tickets at UtahJazz.com. I cannot tell you enough to go see the game, get there early, see the warm-ups, see this. You first broke in the league in 1968. Okay, that was more than a few years ago. If I do the math right, that we were actually working on 58 years since that happened. Like, this is a combination of Ralph Sampson with Magic Johnson's handle and Wilt Chamberlain's dunking and maybe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And, like, he's actually, his three-point touch is not, like, is elite. It's 38% now. Like, this is crazy.
It started to build up from that point to the point where guys have gotten better at certain things that we're seeing now. Example is you were talking about Ralph Sampson.
Yeah.
Bringing the ball up the floor, 7 foot, going behind his back and all that kind of stuff. And, boy, everyone frowned on that. You're 7 foot, get your butt down there and play with your back to the basket and all this kind of stuff. And now we're seeing a 7'4" guy do all of those things. And no one's griping about it.
Well, we've seen little flashes, right? There was a Kristaps Porzingis is 7'3" and does some interesting things, but there's more. There's a level of Victor's game that he's doing all of everything, right? He's playing in the mid block. He's playing off the bounce. He actually hit an off the bounce pull up three on a pick and roll tonight. Mm-hmm. And there's also a level that I think maybe part of the old guy thing that you wanted those guys in the post was that they were supposed to be physical. Like, he's playing hard every minute. He plays really hard. And so it's pretty awesome.
So what we saw tonight, we saw him at the mid post. We didn't see him play down low with his back to the basket. What we did see a lot of was him coming down the floor in transition or in the secondary break and pulling up and shooting a three. He got his game going from that standpoint. So I'm wondering, does he change his game if he's not making those threes and start doing something else? Is he that kind of player that thinks ahead of what he can do or what he can get away with out there on the floor?
Seems like it. His growth is, we saw him preseason this year and we knew. We left here going, oh gosh, he's different. He's now an all-star starter. He's now one of the 5 best players in the league. The Spurs are now 30-13 in the league. I mean, the Spurs are on pace to win 60 games this year. That is pretty high level stuff here. Not quite, right? No, they're on pace. I mean, 60-26, so they're off by, a little bit, but they're very likely could win 58, 57 games this year. And they're a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. They're a legit title contender.
Here's a question for you though. I mean, he's playing 26, 27, 28 minutes a ball game, and he's averaging 25, 26 points, somewhere in there. Maybe getting 18 shots. I'm just trying to remember what my notes were. If they were to add, or if they could, I mean, does he have the stamina to play an extra 5 more minutes to the point where, and at a high-paced game, does he start to run out of gas because he's not the strongest guy or what? Or has Mitch Johnson solved the problem with keeping him engaged and keeping him physically and strong enough to finish a basketball game at 28 again?
That is a great question. That is going to be the question of the playoffs, is how many minutes he's played, because when he's on the floor, they're 14 points per 100 possessions better than they are when he's off the floor. They're 12 points better on defense when he's on the floor than when he's off the floor. His impact is mammoth. So if his impact suddenly becomes, instead of 30 minutes a night, 35 minutes a night, well, these guys really might have a chance, right? Like, it's kind of a team shoot 6 percentage points worse when he's the closest defender on a three, which is the second best of anyone in the league, and 9 percentage worse when he's at the rim. I mean, this was the crazy note I had before the game. Teams are only taking 5 shots at inside 6 feet a game against Victor. That's 51st in the league. Like, it's not that he's not out there. It's not like people don't even try. Like, they used to try Rudy. They don't even try Victor.
Well, he's covered so much. Man, I mean, 6 feet away from him is not a good shot.
Right.
Now, my other point here, David, if you're only paying him 28 minutes a ball game, 20 minutes has to be covered at that center position.
Well, Luke Cornett's doing something right because they're still the 3rd best defensive team in the NBA.
Yeah. There you go, right there.
All right, we'll talk about the Jazz when we continue. A lot of young minutes tonight, a lot of opportunities for guys. We'll touch on that. Today's edition of POSTCAST is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel. Fridays on FanDuel become that much more fun with Friday Happy Hour coming your direction. FanDuel gives the fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour's official pregame limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Open the FanDuel app during Happy Hour. Always brings something new. Boosts, bonuses, surprises. Easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect. Right before the game, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during the NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of energy on a Friday. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time does everything you'd want them to do with ticket apps for you. Game Time, they give you the toggle over the little thing to make sure that you have no hidden fees. Get your seat view, get your zone deals, whatever it might be. Game Time has it for you, and the prices go down as you get closer to tip-off or kickoff. Fans want to be there with the moments, not struck, refreshing screens, or guessing what the ticket's going to cost, and that's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast and simple without the guesswork. View from your seat. Zone deals will make it go for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. From a Jazz standpoint, Ron, the Jazz were in this. They've kind of resiliently fought back throughout the whole first half. They fell behind by 8 or 9, and then they get it back to 3, and we're at 4 at halftime. And then the transition defense really seemed to collapse a little bit there in the fourth quarter, which was unfortunate because I really thought they had, in the third quarter, because they really had played pretty well up to that point. I thought there were a lot of things to be pleased about tonight. By the Jazz, frankly. Their half-court offense probably struggled a little bit. That zone defense caused them some problems. But, they stayed in this one for a pretty long time, and then I thought maybe the road trip and just some of the extra minutes. You're asking a lot out of Clayton, played 32, and Cody seemed a little dead tonight. But I thought the guys were in this one for the most part until it slipped away in the early fourth.
Yeah, that third period also, David, I think I'm going to look at that this way because fast break points, 18-10. The Jazz didn't have hardly any in the second half. Now, the fast break points that I thought the Spurs got were after a made shot where they pushed the basketball ahead. I'm not sure if they count that as a fast break point.
Fast break points
after a miss or how
the box score fast break points are simply by time. So it's whether you hit a certain, it's in the first 5 seconds or something, or 6 seconds. That's literally how they count on the box.
Then they very well could have counted a couple of those because if that's the case, then they did catch the Jazz napping, push it ahead of the defense, and be able to score.
Actually, to your point, off live rebounds, their numbers were not great tonight in transition. Okay. Their numbers showed up in other things. They were pretty off a few steals, but I think off makes. I think they got if you ask, I think Will Hardy will comment in the press conference that there were too many baskets off makes tonight.
Yeah, and that's the big difference. That's what I saw anyway.
We're just getting a lot of minutes right now out of guys with 3 years or less experience. 240 minutes tonight. Nurk played 26. Fee played 24 tonight. They were back in the rotation. And Love played 20. So other than those 48 minutes, 68 minutes tonight, the rest of them, 180 minutes out of guys with 3 years less experience. What are you seeing out of what these guys are experiencing or learning right now?
You're talking about the young guys.
Yeah.
And you probably have to talk to some coaches and see if they're getting what they expect out of some of these young guys. What we see is surface stuff, shooting, maybe missing a defensive assignment, and the coaches track progress from game to game. They have their own plus minus system, that kind of thing. And so, but what I'm seeing is spurts of guys out there that are making improvement, but obviously we like to see it a little bit faster than what we're seeing.
The funniest thing about this is that there's this is hard to explain, but there's a funny thing about the NBA game that no matter what you do, you're going to have about 40 rebounds, and whatever you do, no matter what you do, you're going to score about 90 points. And so, like Nurk, Mikhailuk, and Kevin Love just take about 40 of those tonight, and they take about 24 of the rebounds. And so everyone's box score numbers look much less impressive than they have the last few nights when those guys haven't played. But I'm not. What is really the difference maker in this league is the points and rebounds that just are. I don't know how to explain it, but there's certain points and rebounds that are valued differently, that are more important than other ones. If you play an NBA game, you're going to get a certain amount of points and rebounds every night, no matter what, by just being on the floor and being out there. But there are winning points and winning rebounds that are more important than some of the others. And so it's an interesting kind of thing. Like you look at it, it looks like Cody had a less good game tonight. But you know what? If he doesn't play and doesn't have 10 points and 2 rebounds, Cody probably has 12 points. It looks better. Right. But I don't know if he actually was better or not. Like I think that's kind of my point on that some of this is a little hard to do by numbers out there because it doesn't all. You just get some. Kyle ended up with 13 points and 6 rebounds, which was nice tonight, and as he got some more minute with some center stuff in there. The one note I will tell you back on Victor, I just grabbed this. The Jazz at the rim tonight shot 31%. No, the Jazz at the rim shot 46%. They were 13 of 28 at the rim tonight. If you don't think Luke Cornett and Victor Wembanyama are making a difference, yes. Right? All right. Any stars tonight, Ron?
If I'm stretching it a little bit, the ones that are Nurkic and Kevin Love.
All right.
And
Kevin Love gets a star for his Moses Malone performance?
That's what I'm thinking right there. And you better clarify that on what.
No,
some of our listeners don't know.
I'm not clarifying.
Some of our listeners don't know.
Kevin Love's listening. He'll know. That's the only one that matters. I'm not clarifying it.
But that would be my only 2.
All right. Those are the 2 tonight.
Yeah.
It's all right. The voting's rigged. All right, that wraps us up tonight. We'll be with you tomorrow because that's what the NBA has done to us. We'll play Minnesota if you have a chance. Ant tomorrow and Victor Thursday coming out. Should be great. Hope you have a great one. Talk to you guys soon.